Hi and welcome to Viking and Biking. I'm Matt Stading and this episode will be about Viking roads. Well, if we were going to talk about Viking roads, it would be quite a short talk, but it will more be about waterways. And currently we are cycling close to one of them, one of the rivers. That's a small river that goes out of Gothenburg. And as I live in Gothenburg, we will start there and then we will head out of town to the bigger river. This is Mölndalsån, one of the small rivers. And during the Viking Age, it was probably quite possible to do some cargo traffic along this one, at least until you hit one of the rapids where you had to change. But as the roads were almost, well, there were no roads really, so one of the areas where the Vikings excelled was really on water, so the waterways were quite important. There are several small rivers and one big radiating out from Gothenburg, and the biggest of them is Göta Älv that runs from Gothenburg, and it starts up in the big river, Lake Vänern, and you will see later on that it's quite much bigger than this. But first we have to find a way out of the city. The waterways are important for transport. Much of the infrastructure has been located around this one, and especially in the valley where the Göta River runs. It's you have trains, you have highways, and it's quite that place it's a narrow valley. So you will notice that we will pass first a lot of infrastructure before we actually come to the river. And now it will be difficult to hear what I'm saying, so I'll come back later on. It is one of the big junctions that connects the highways to Stockholm with the one to Oslo. So it's always a lot of traffic here, even in the morning. Now we're passing over the highway and then we will come back to the river again. So this is the end of Mölndalsån, where it will run into another smaller of the rivers, Säveån, and then join the big one. And between the Mölndalsån that we were cycling a while ago, there's actually this junction of the highway. So it's just nowadays it's just dug down, so it's not possible to navigate this river anymore. I have actually tried. I was looking for a kayak path to go between the rivers, but it's impossible. And this is the other one, Säveån, that runs into the country, more of a northeast direction from Gothenburg. Of course, 1,000 years ago, there were no other roads, and you could actually navigate on the rivers. The main obstacle then was, of course, if you had rapids, where you had to unload and carry the boat or load to another boat upstream. And in the big rivers there are today locks, of course, that can do this, but this is relatively modern. So now we're passing over Säveån just before it joins with Göta Älv. This isn't really one of the more scenic roads out from Gothenburg, but if you're interested in civil engineering and infrastructure, this is the route. So around here it's modern constructions, so it's new roads, new bridges, and yeah, just a lot of roads. I'm just happy that they managed to squeeze in a nice bike path as well. It's spring, it's about 15 degrees, slightly overcast. You can feel few drops of rain, which I hope stops with that, but the nice part is that all the trees are full with flowers and the green leaves are coming out, and it's a really beautiful time of year. I guess the connection of biking and Vikings is not that obvious, but it's basically because I like Vikings and I like biking. So, well, I like history, but the Viking Age is quite fascinating, and I have just published a book, The Viking Princess or Vikingaprinsessan, and a lot of the research for that was done on bike tours. Because in the region here, it's you have a lot of history, and actually a lot is left from the Viking Age. So there are some archaeological finds, a few buildings, and just interesting sights. Here you can see one of these wonderful trees. So even if the bike route is not so scenic, the present state of the nature is really nice. It's maybe not obvious why I should talk English instead of Swedish, but I know that there are a lot of people outside the Nordic area that are interested in the Vikings too, so I choose English. But I mean, you can clearly hear that I'm not a native English speaker, but still, most people talk very good English in Sweden, so you manage, even if you don't speak any Swedish, you manage quite well as a tourist. And also, I mean, between Denmark, Norway and Sweden, we have similar languages, so we can understand each other, even at least if we make an effort. But sometimes it could be difficult that too. And then even we switch to English, but Norwegian and Swedish is more similar than Swedish and Danish, at least for the pronunciation. So usually English is used for business, but we try to keep the Nordic languages alive too. I am actually biking along the big river Göta Älv, but you can't see it because there is first a tram line, then there is a train track, and then there is a highway. And behind that you have all the industrial developments. And of course, if you have a big river with good connections, there will be a lot of industrial development, or was before. So it's this part of the river is quite crowded. Close to the riverside, it's better when you get upstream. There you can see more of the river, and it's quite nice. This is a view from one of the high bridges upstream I shot yesterday. From up there you can see how wide the Göta Älv river is. And in the distance you can see the skyscrapers under construction in central Gothenburg. Even if most of this route is through industrialized areas, there are some nice exceptions. And now we come into a small valley where a very small creek is running, and there is a nice take-up to my right for a bike track, which runs along a previous train line that has been discontinued, and now it's converted to a nice bike lane which runs about 20-30 kilometers inland, all separated from the traffic. It's really nice. But that will be in another episode. mountain biking down towards the central part of the river valley, and soon we will be able to finally see the big river Göta Älv. Well, almost see it. I think we need to cross this bridge first to see it on the other side. Okay, so this is Göta Älv. You can see it's quite big. Not so much traffic this morning, it's just a sailboat out. But imagine this 1,000 years ago. It was quite easy to navigate with a Viking ship. And you could probably even sail here, but otherwise you could at least row it upstreams or downstreams. So this river continues up to the Lake Vänern, which is the biggest lake of Sweden. And if you cross that, you're really up in central Sweden. So there were a lot of trading opportunities. And if you did travel, this was probably the easiest way. Well, it was the easiest way. Of course, there are some rapids, or were some rapids. Now it's locks. So you had to negotiate your way around them if you pushed your ship yourself with help of others, or maybe there were even services to unload. Who knows? There has been archaeological finds here. Skeppet is one freight ship from the Viking Age that was found upstream from here. It's now reconstructed and on display in the City Museum in Gothenburg. And there have been other archaeological finds along the river here as well. And in my book, I have set the two Viking brothers, Björn and Gunnar, here. They were born and raised here along the riverbanks. So you see, it's still a beautiful day, and I think I'll head up for another bike ride. So this is all for today. Thanks for listening, and tune in on this channel again. See you.